Hi guys, it's Naomi, and I wanted to add this intro to the video to explain a little bit about the footage that you're about to see for the I Knew You Were Truffle story time. I lost the cooking footage in a move, so you won't be able to cook along with me in this video, but if you're interested in seeing the how to cook photos, you can buy my book Bittersweet Breakups on the Amazon.com store, and there's cooking photos and the fictional story that I wrote based on the true life events that I'm about to explain to you. This story is about my first love, who inspired the Amir character in the I Knew You Were Truffle story. He kind of warned me ahead of time that he was a bad guy, and I didn't listen. Um, so you will see what happens to me in this story time because of that. We're gonna call my ex Jacob for the purposes of this story, and my best friend Stacy. And yeah, sorry for the plane noises. I did the best I could with the audio. But I hope you guys enjoy this story time anyway, and I hope you guys check out Bittersweet Breakups. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like, there's a little anecdote that I want to share. This guy kind of was like one of my former roommates who he was a very interesting guy. He had this friend who only liked to date virgins, and the reason why he only liked to date virgins was that he said he had this formula of how he could get them to have sex with him. And I was like, how the fuck, like, a virgin, like, that's like the number one person who's never going to have sex with you. Like, how would you get, you know? And so he explained to me that he has this like sick formula. So he takes the girl out, right? Wines and dines her once. He asks her for sex. Obviously she's gonna say no, she's a virgin, it's the first time. The second time, he takes her out. Third time, he takes her out a few more times. Like the fourth or fifth time or whatever, they get together and he goes for a move, but then all of a sudden he acts like he withdraws when she starts returning his energy. He withdraws and acts disgusted. Like he acts like she smells or like he's not attracted to her, and he cuts the date off early and he says like, you know what, I'm just not feeling this, like you need to go home. And the very next date that they have, he says, according to his formula, the girl always fucks him. Because he made her feel insecure. It's a really tough thing when you're in a relationship and you don't necessarily know for sure if it's abusive or not. Me, myself, you know, if you check out my book Bittersweet Breakups, one of the first things I talk about is how I actually grew up in a very abusive environment growing up. My father wasn't there, and my mom was physically abusive. So I didn't necessarily know, especially at 19, what was appropriate and what was not in terms of somebody who said that they really liked me treating me. And so that's kind of what I was going through at the time, where it was like, oh, I don't know if that's okay what he's doing, but at the same time I don't really know shit, so let's just do this. And I wouldn't say things really came to the fore in terms of being bad in our relationship until one day when we got back home from a night out. And we actually drive out 2 hours out to Long Island to go to Robert Moses Beach, and it's the most beautiful like beach if you've ever been. It's 2 hours out of the city, and we spend the day there, and it's like this really nice romantic day. And at the end of it, we go out, you know, we have some drinks, we hang out, and we're heading back home. And we're just talking, you know, one of the things that we used to do and one of the things that I found so great about him is that we could just sit and talk for hours. So we're sitting at the like kind of bar area in his apartment and we're talking, and then he has to use the restroom. And he leaves his phone like basically right on the counter, like right next to me, which I don't know why he did this, but I guess he just felt like that confident about it. And while he's using the restroom, like a little ding, like, you know, a text pops up. And I'm like, I'm not the person who's going to check your phone. Like, if we're in a relationship, I trust you. Like, if I'm hanging out with you, that means I trust you. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like I'm going to sit here and check your phone or your email or, like, anything weird like that. Like, it wasn't even in my mind at the time. The only reason why I looked at his phone is because it lit up. And then when it lit up, it said a woman's name. And it was like a text notification. And I was like, wait. We had just gotten in, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I was like, what woman is texting you at 2 o'clock in the morning? So, I go over and I look, and it's like somebody saying like, oh, good night, babe. And I'm just like, wait, Like, good night, babe. Who have you been speaking to this whole night? Like, while we've been going out and having drinks together, like, and going to the beach and stuff. Like, who have you been talking to this whole day? You know? And so I scroll up, I'm just scrolling. Because at this point I'm curious. And it's like a 3-month-long thread of conversations between him and this woman who I'm gonna call her Autumn. Because her name starts Autumn. And him and this woman, Autumn, have been exchanging nudes, dirty texts, like all of these crazy things. And they've also been hanging out on weekdays. They've only been hanging out on weekdays. And I don't really know what to say at first because I'm just so floored by, like, again, like, this is kind of like the guy from the Just Friends Friends story where it's like, how the fuck are you lying like this? Like, how you, like, sleep at night? It sounds like a cliche, but it was like, it was more of a thing like, how? We talk, and I confront him about, like, basically what happened. He actually got extremely pissed. He got extremely pissed that I had, quote unquote, went through his phone, and this is where it kind of starts being like another red flag in a way. Like, I probably should have left at this point, but I just don't. He's like, how the fuck could you go through my fucking phone? You betrayed my trust. Like, he does such a good job at flipping this situation over on me that I'm like, okay, maybe I'm the one who did something wrong. Like, I'm the one who violated his trust by going through his stuff. Like, you know? And then he tells me, I love you. Like, that's kind of like how he gets me to erase, like, any sort of feeling about this other woman. Is after I find out about this whole situation, he's like, I understand, like, you know, I've been messed up towards you, but I love you. And I'm just like, oh my god, like, I'm so floored. And I'm sure that he knew that. Because 2 weeks later, me and my best friend at the time are hanging out in his neighborhood. We're in Dumbo, and so after that whole situation, like, where I kind of forgive him, and he says that he loves me, and I say I love you too, and we're like, okay, like, we're both imperfect human beings, like, we can make this work, you know, one indiscretion is not that bad. He ghosts me. Like, he completely stops talking to me. Like, at the second week, again, me and my friend Stacy, who introduced me to him, are like out in Dumbo, and we're just like, fuck, like, you know, it didn't go right, but whatever, we're just gonna have our girls' night, and we're gonna hang out, and we're gonna have fun. And so we walk into one of the, I mean, I guess I can see the name of the place, and Jacob is on a date. Jacob is on a date with another female. And I, like, everything all of a sudden starts connecting to me and, like, starts making sense, because I'm like, oh shit, like, this guy this whole time, like, he never had any interest in having anything even remotely real with me. Like, this is just a game to him. And so that's why he's like, he doesn't care. And so I remember just, like, the feeling of, like, my heart dropping, like, when I see him and this other girl, and he looks at me and he kind of goes, and he looks at me and he looks at her, he looks at me and he looks at her again, and I'm just like, dude, like, are you serious? And so my best friend is like, oh my fucking god, he's such an asshole, like, we should just pour a drink on him. I was just like, oh, like, I guess I am pissed. And so it was more like a thing where I did not plan this. Like, to this day, this is my fucking story. Like, I did not plan this at all. But my friend is like, look, I'm gonna kick the shit out of him after you pour a drink on him. And I'm like, okay, fine. And so we go over, and the first question, I asked a question first, because I was like, I don't want to assume. This is how innocent I am at this point. Like, I didn't even think, like, initially, you know, that he was going to be cheating on me. Like, I was like, let me just ask. So I'm like, hey, are you dating this girl? Like, are you guys going out? Like, he goes, yeah, like, we are dating. Like, kind of like, joke's on you, this whole relationship has been a fucking joke. And I was just like, you know, so in my very drunk 20-year-old state at the time, I'm 20 at this point, I poured a drink on him and I was like, you are such an asshole. And so I really thought, like, in my mind, I thought that that would be the end of it. Like, the girl that he was with is like, oh my god, like, she just poured a drink on you, like, and I was just like, so pissed. I was just like, I've never done anything like that to anyone before in my life, but I just was so, it's like I snapped in a way, and he didn't say anything, he didn't do anything, but I guess, like, when I tried to put, like, so after I poured the drink on him, right, I remember it was a Tom Collins, I remember that, and I tried to put the highball glass, like, on the bar, like, behind him so we can leave, and it doesn't fucking, like, it doesn't go on the bar, like, that well. It actually slides off and it breaks. So the entire place gets extremely quiet. My Stacy, she takes this as her opportunity to go, you're a fucking bitch. And all I remember, like, seeing, like, from behind me is, like, the direction of her fist, like, coming toward my ex's face. Like, I just remember seeing her fist going toward her face, and I was like, oh my god. Like, she's not going to kick him, she's punching him in the face. And literally, like, I just see her fist connect, and as soon as I see that fist connect, I'm like, ow. I'm like, out of there. Because, like, I know it's going to escalate. So I was just like, I just did a beeline for the door. I was just like, oh my god, like, let's go. And the girl's like, obviously, his date is freaking out. He's freaking out. The entire bar is freaking out because we just basically assaulted him. And I was, like, so freaked out, like, just on an existential level. Everybody in this situation is significantly older than me, so I'm just, like, period freaked out, and I don't know what to do except run. So we run. Because he and I are both very, like, psycho, like, so to speak, after that, like, that doesn't end our relationship. Like, I still keep seeing him after that. He basically tries to convince me that this other girl is not existent in his life, that they were just on a date, it wasn't really anything serious, he wasn't seeing her, but obviously at this point we know that he's been cheating on me for several months with the same chick. Like, at that point I was just so kind of, like, addicted to him in a sense that I couldn't stay away. But at the same time, like, okay, I know I'm dealing with a guy who's very psychologically complicated and obviously has been operating this way for quite a while. So I'm like, you know what? He's fucked up. Everybody's fucked up. Why don't I just have one last meeting with him and talk to him and see what's really going on? Because at this point I'm extremely confused. You love me? Do you love her? Like, very, very stupid. Very, very just... And so... The last time we hang out, like, together, is at Brooklyn Bridge Park, and basically, we kind of rehash everything that's happened. He basically tells me that, yeah, I'm a fucking liar, I'm very fucked up, like, again, I told you in the beginning, which he didn't really, he warned me, but he kind of, like, half-assed warned me. He was like, oh yeah, you're better off staying away from me, but let's hang out on Saturday. No. That guys like that who know how to lie and completely create different worlds with different girls need to be, like, quarantined from humanity. Like, that's kind of the level of seriousness that he should have came at me with, but he did not. So we spend this, kind of, like, hour, maybe 2 hours talking, and then we agree that we're going to hang out again. We agree that we're going to hang out again, and, yeah, ladies, this is kind of where I want to speak to my young ladies, and it's like, just because a guy is not hitting you does not mean that he's not abusing you. And I think that that's something that I could have learned very well, probably in that first few months. Just because he's not directly saying, like, anything negative to you, it's about the way that he treats you, it's about the way that he speaks to you, it's about the things that he does. And, I was so caught up in when we got together and when we actually hung out, it was so perfect that when, we were apart and he was being this total distant asshole who would, like, it didn't really register to me as a more extreme side of the spectrum. So ironically, the last day that we ever see each other is on Independence Day. This was the 4th of July, I want to say in, like, 2016. And, it's a group of our friends, like our mutual friends I'm hanging out with, and some other people that we knew in the kind of, like, Dumbo neighborhood. And we're just, like, hanging out, having fun, like, letting it all hang loose. And I just remember I was so happy. Like, I had seen a friend that Jacob and I had both known for like so long, and like basically since we met we had known this same guy. And he comes up to me and I'm like, hey, like looking down and like being awkward, and I'm like, hey, like what's up, like hey, like why are you being weird? And all I know, like I turn my vision to like look at the side, and our friend is looking at Jacob. Jacob is sitting in the corner of this place that, you know, I'm hanging out with all of our friends, and he's just staring at me like with like this, not even like a nice smile, like not even like a happy smile or like a cool smile. It is the most creepy, cold, sadistic, serial killer, I want to eat you for breakfast smile that I have ever seen on anybody's face. And he's just like smiling at me like, hey, you want to play? Like, you know, like kind of like want to come back, like, you know? And I'm just like, you know, after our last conversation, we said we were going to see each other. He completely ghosts me, and now we run into each other again. And this is where I finally smarten up, and I'm like, you know what, you've been through enough things with this guy. The word love means nothing without the actions to back it up. Forget it. And so I turn my little head and I continue talking to my friends, and that is the conclusion of our relationship, if you can call it that. It was more like just him torturing me psychologically, but you know. And this really inspired the I Knew You Were Truffle story and recipe that I ended up writing. I'm looking to write another book in the My Storytime Kitchen series, along with some more videos for you guys with the real life stories behind them. I just kind of want to know interest. So if you guys want more story times like this, let me know in the comments below. And I have a ton more recipe inspired short stories for you guys, and a lot of real life story times that go behind them. So please subscribe, check it out, and I will see you in our next video.